Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 5 Rounds Rapid, and today we have this here, which is the Brigadier as he appeared in the Spearhead from space. So I'm going to do a second review. Obviously, those of you all know I was waiting for this one. I held off on making these because I was waiting for the newly released Brigadier variant that we were getting from the Spearhead from space. However, after seeing pictures of it, I have decided not to get to the official release version, and I will come back to that in a minute. But to take you over what I've done for this figure, so overall this is a Series 1 Captain Jack figure. So we've got the standard Brigadier beret head. I apologise if my camera's not tracking in, it's not behaving itself lately. So we've got the standard Brigadier beret head, and then I have sculpted on the his medals on his chest. I've also added the unit badge logo on the side. It's a slightly different tone, but I don't think it matters that much. I also sculpted on a little extra bit for the braid on the side. The belt around the middle. Now obviously some people are going to say, well, he wasn't wearing a belt. He did later on in the episode wear a belt when they were dealing with the Auton, so I decided to add that in because it just made it look a little bit different, added a little extra streak of colour to it. Obviously I've sculpted the shirt and tie on there as well, and then rather like my Web of Fear version, I've used a pouch from a Helen Cutter Primeval figure and a holster from the standard Brigadier figure, and that's pretty much all I've done for this. Obviously, as you can see, I've repainted it as well. This is actually the second repaint I did. The first repaint I did was much more cream sand in terms of colour, so it didn't look quite right, so I decided to repaint it more of a sort of the greyish violet hue that it actually was in the episode. So yeah, I am really pleased with how this one's come out, and I have to say that this is one that is very much a disappointment with the original figure, and I will take you over my my reasons for this now. So first things first, let's bring up, as I said, the reason I was holding off on this is I was waiting to buy the official figure, but I didn't buy the official figure in the end because after seeing pictures of it I decided that it really wasn't worth it, and so I'm going to put up some pictures on screen now. I would like to give a big shout out to Neon Velvet on Twitter for sending me these photos, because he saved me the deal. He saved me the money of having to go and buy what turns out to be, or at least for me, turns out to be a very disappointing figure. So first things first, as we can see on this Brigadier version of the official figure, obviously, noticeably, they've just repainted the Captain Jack figure, which is a real shame. You know, they haven't bothered to resculpt the shirt and the tie and anything like that. And if we do a close-up on the badges, you can actually see that even these have just been repainted on. You can still see the original RAF logo underneath. And if we just cycle through the back and side views, you can see that, you know, we haven't got any of the unit logo on the arm or anything like that. It really is a disappointment. So I'm disappointed that they didn't. First of all, I'm glad that I didn't buy the figure, because this is not really something that I say very often. I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but I have to say my version is far superior to the original release version, and it's such a shame that they didn't do what they could have done. And this is where I'm going to again make a point here. I've got several figure bases which I'm going to bring on screen. So first of all, we have the Captain Jack figure, and here we have the body, because this is the one I've got spare, of the Auton figure. So as many of you will know, the Auton figure, the scarf is part of the sculpt of the figure, and obviously on this version they've done things like they've added buttons, they've taken off the RAF logo, they've added a belt buckle, they've added the scarf and things like that. So they've already proven that they could retool the Captain Jack figure once. They've already proved that they could retool it once. So I honestly have to question if they could retool the Captain Jack figure to make this one. Why couldn't they have just retooled the Captain Jack figure to add a proper shirt and tie, and why couldn't they have done it? All they need to do, add a proper shirt and tie, move the buckle along to the middle, and take off the RAF logo and put on some medals. Now, I'm sure some people are going to go, well, they would have had to have paid money to do that, and, you know, it cost money. They would have had to make new pieces, and that's true. They would have had to make some new pieces, but when you look at the B&M set that this Brigadier figure came in, it has, as part of it, now I haven't actually got this figure, so I'm having to assume here, but I believe this is the case from what I've seen online. The 4th Doctor figure that we've had has an entirely new sculpted shirt front piece that is a tie and a waistcoat. So they've proven that they're willing to make new parts and adapt sculpts in that set. So why couldn't they have done it for the Brigadier figure? It really just, it staggers me that this is one of these things that I look at it and think they could have made something such simple changes. As to be fair, right, I'm even willing to forego the centre buckle and the medals. If they had left the medals as they are on the figure now, they've just repainted them over the RAF logo. They haven't bothered doing the centre. They haven't bothered doing the centre buckle. If they had just retooled the shirt to give us a tie and a collar, the released figure would have been 1,000 times better, but they didn't do that for whatever reason. They decided not to, and it really is a disappointment. So the nice thing about this, let's take these out of shot now. The nice thing about this though is I've made this, and I've done it so easily that, as I said, this kind of proves that it would be so simple to do that anybody who's now bought that Brigadier figure, if you're careful enough, like I said, I've just made the collar and everything out of Milliput, so it would be so simple for people to now make this out of the released Brigadier figure we've got. Because, obviously for this, I've had to make this completely from the Captain Jack figure base. People now want to make this out of their Brigadier figure they've got. Obviously, they've got a bit of a head start, which is great for people that want to make it. But I really don't like saying this, because I really don't. I'm not one for self-praise, but I'm sorry, but this is far superior to the released version, because it's the simple things. It's the simple little things that character options haven't done. And you know, I have to look at this and I have to question things like, you know, where they've retooled a 4th Doctor in the same set. Why couldn't they have done it for the Brigadier? And I'm sorry, but this is one of these things that I made mention of this. I made mention of this in a previous video, and this wasn't the video that I was going to mention this in, but it is another example of it, where if the fans are making better figures than what is officially released, and they are, I hate to use the phrase penny pinching, but I'm going to. If character options are penny pinching to the extreme when it comes to making new figures, it really makes me wonder, as much as I hope it won't be the case, that maybe character options won't be making Doctor Who merchandise for very much longer. It's a horrible thing to have to say, but it really does sort of leave me looking and thinking it could be the case. I mean, again, I know they're not watching, but character options, if anybody at character options sees this, Alderware, anybody at character options sees this, I'm just a fan who has made a custom figure. You're a multi-million toy manufacturer with access to resources that I couldn't even imagine having access to in my wildest dreams. I'm just a guy sat at a desk with some paints bought from an art shop and some modelling clay, and I've made something better than you have. I'm sorry, but I can't understand why you couldn't have given us this. rather than what you gave us, because when you look at what little has been done to this, I can't believe that CO couldn't have done it themselves. That's the bottom line. It's, you know, it comes to a poor effect when the fans are taking over the toy companies. That's the bottom line of this. But on a more positive note, I am really pleased with the outcome of this figure, and I certainly hope that this is one that people will look at and decide to modify their existing B&M Brigadier figures to make this, because it would be so easy for them to do now, especially that they've, as I said, they've had the head start. So I certainly hope that people decide to do this themselves, because it's one that I would love to see replicated. I certainly think it's going to be a very popular figure, and as such I certainly think this is going to be a very popular custom figure. But that brings to a close the next episode of 5 Rounds Rapid. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot, and be sure to check the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There is exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.